You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Trump hijacks America with a MAGA rally based on an article by Tom Hartman. Trump didn't honor the Republic. He repossessed it. The ceremony was the message. America's 250th birthday, and the sources telling, was not treated as a civic milestone, but as raw material for Donald Trump's personal brand. He pushed aside the bipartisan commission Congress created, built a White House-controlled Freedom 2-150, steered public money into his own spectacle, and turned the National Mall into a stage for self-worship. The point was not commemoration. The point was ownership. That distinction matters. A republic is supposed to mark its anniversaries as shared inheritance. Trump's operation treated the anniversary like private property. Power has a name. The article is strongest when it stops pretending the damage is accidental and names the institutions actually doing the work. Trump, Republicans in Congress, the Supreme Court's Republican majority, and the coercive machinery of the state, the White House event, the MAGA rally, the PragerU propaganda trucks, the military purges, the immigration terror, the prosecution of anti-fascist speech, all of it points in one direction. Power used deliberately to narrow who counts as a full participant in American life. That is the central fact. The country is not being divided by vague forces. It is being governed by coalition that rewards submission, punishes dissent, and uses public institutions to glorify itself. Propaganda is not a side effect. The source correctly traces the deeper infrastructure, not just Trump, but decades of billionaire-funded political capture, right-wing media, think tanks, and court packing by ideology and money. That is not background. That is the operating system. The purpose of this machinery is to make democratic government look incompetent, while private power looks inevitable. PragerU's cartoon history trucks are a perfect symbol of the project. They are not teaching history. They are laundering it. They convert conquest, labor, and sacrifice into mascot politics, then ask the public to mistake that for patriotism. The same tactic appears in the broader story the article sketches. We can trust in government, privatize public goods, and then present oligarchs as saviors. ICE should be abolished. The source names ICE as part of the country's authoritarian drift, and that is the correct framing. ICE is not a misunderstood agency that needs better training or a friendlier public image. It is a machine built to terrorize, detain, and sort human beings by race, status, and political usefulness. When the article describes it as targeting people whose skin is not white, it is pointing to a structural function, not a glitch. That means reform talk is a distraction. Abolish ICT and the institution. Anything less keeps the engine intact and asks the victims to trust the people operating it. The GOP's real loyalty. The article's historical language is blunt for a reason. The modern Republican Party is presented not as a normal opposition party, but as a loyalist network for wealth, hierarchy, and punishment. Its institutions do not merely tolerate anti-democratic behavior, they increasingly normalize it. Voter suppression, criminalizing protest, judicial indulgence for corruption, and the open worship of strawman politics all serve the same end, keeping power insulated from the people. That is why the piece's recurring comparison to redcoats and loyalists works better than any civility so polarization frame. The issue is not that two parties disagree on taxes or tone. One side is trying to preserve the possibility of democratic rule. The other is actively converting the state into a weapon for oligarchy. What July 4 actually means now. The most useful thing in the source is it's reminded that the revolution was expensive because it was real. The signers did not get to cosplay descent from safety. They risked property, family, freedom, and death. That history is being mocked by a political class that wraps itself in the flag while hollowing out the republic it pretends to celebrate. The larger pattern is simple. When wealth captures institutions, patriotism becomes branding and democracy becomes the administration of decline. The anniversary is not being ruined by excess enthusiasm. It is being used to normalize a regime that wants the symbols of self-government without the substance. The public ceremony is the camouflage. The theft is the substance. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article. With the automated voice of Norman, thanks for listening.